Hey, I'm Nick, and today I want to talk about the importance of always not blindly just following through with a habit. And in fact, it's important to step back and reflect on whether or not the systems that you put in place for yourself are actually useful and making you as much results as you could be making. You see, as a norm, you like habits. All people like habits. They like the comfort and the repetitive nature of them and enjoy knowing what's going to come next and the actions that you're going to take. And so it can be hard to naturally and subconsciously think about whether or not a habit is good for you, as naturally your brain will think that if it's a habit and you're doing it a lot, then it must be good for you because you're enjoying it. But we should all know by now that your brain is not the best at actually figuring out whether something is objectively good or bad for you. All it knows is its monkey primal brain habits are good, which is why we need to figure out whether or not a habit is bad or not, because our brain is not going to do that for us. And so with these bad habits come along with bad systems. If we schedule for us to do a certain thing day by day, then we'll get into a habit of doing that. And if that system, what we scheduled, is bad, we're not going to immediately know about that until we figure out first if it's a good habit or a bad habit. And what's even worse is that even if the system is giving us results, it can still not be as optimal as it could be with the time and effort that we're putting into it. And that too will not be picked up by our brain because all it notices is that when we do X, we get Y. We still get the results. And it doesn't take the time to step back and think about whether or not those results are optimal, equal to the time that we are spending on them. And even if you've put a lot of effort into the system that you've made up, and you personally think that you've thought of all the ways where it could go wrong, and you're pretty sure or almost certain that it's not going to falter, having that time and stepping back and still looking at whether or not it's being useful, even if you objectively found a system that would work, helps you find any inaccuracies that you've made previously and with your now more experienced brain can fix. But all the problems that can come up with making yourself a new habit or new system are so varied that there's no actual way to figure out a one rule to fix them. And instead, what we need to focus on is that we are constantly switching it up and experimenting with new stuff that we've heard, and we're always keeping an ear out for any new information that people have tried and that has worked for them. Even if they're not in the same situation as you, the principles could still apply and be more useful than the ones that you've made up yourself. And I just want to quickly mention that even though I've talked a lot about using this to fix your habits and finding good and bad ones and finding more useful ones that will get more value out of your time, it's also important to do this with any other thing that you do, any other thing that you do as a habit, such as your morning routine. Finding ways to optimize that may prove to be more helpful to you, or optimizing your workout routine. All of this can only be done if we keep an open ear out and we are up to switching it up every now and then and experimenting with new ideas that people have found useful. But mostly it's best to just focus on the habits that we've made for ourselves and looking into whether or not they're actually useful, as our subconscious mind will not do that work for us, as our brain naturally likes habits. And finding out whether it's good or bad is up to you and not for a sign to drop out of the sky or to suddenly light up in your head. But if you're still interested in learning anything more about productivity tips or tricks, I've now started one-on-one coaching, which you can book a call for using the first link in the description below. But until then, I'll see you later.